Hey, before you watch this thing, hit subscribe, would you? And then you hear that they're going to do an American version, and what do you think?
Well, as something of a kind of
Were there a few regions that wanted to do it? Was it just
initially it was just the Americans, I think, and as something of a sort of historian of comedy and TV, and sort of as a young person just loving it and being kind of interested in it, I had seen that a lot of adaptations of British stuff had never worked, and so I thought smart suggestion was that we should not adapt this ourselves, because although we think we know American culture, we don't quite. It's just different growing up here, and it's in your DNA. Yeah. And we knew I thought we needed American people to do it, and so we met with lots of people, and Greg Daniels kind of was the right choice. And
so you selected Greg?
We met with loads of people, and Greg was the one who zeroed in on the romance being key to the show, which we knew was important.
Were there ways you understood the show then that are different than the way you understand it now? Like, obviously you can look back with 20 years hindsight, you go, that's why. Back then, were you aware of it? Like, knowing the romance part?
I was always a big advocate for that, because it was an element I'd really enjoyed particularly in American TV. It was noticeable in Friends, but even before that, I was a big fan of Northern Exposure.
Great.
And that will they, won't they romance that they had in that. Whenever the show went off the rails, that element was still so intoxicating as a viewer.
Yeah.
And I liked it in Moonlighting, and I liked it in Cheers, and I just liked that aspect in shows, and I just thought it was a valuable part of the show, and it brought a different dimension. It sort of softened what might be perceived as cynicism.
Right.
It brought some kind of heart to it. And so I was always a big fan and champion of that, and I knew that would be important in translating it to America as well. So I was always very keen to push that.
In America, it was a slow burn. I remember Mike Schur telling me he was working on the American version, and I was like, okay, that was like picked up for 6, and then
that's right. Yeah,
they didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah,
were you involved in it?
Well, yeah, we met with Greg Daniels for a couple of weeks in London, and we sort of just, I think, dissected our version and why we'd made certain choices and what the kind of socioeconomic equivalents were, and just for him to just pick through kind of, obviously there weren't direct parallels with all of the aspects, so kind of him just trying to understand why we made certain choices and how they might map onto an American version. And he's very generous in kind of keeping us involved in the casting process but again, I think we just knew that we need to leave them to their own devices, really, because I think my worry was we'd keep saying they have to play the instruments the same as us. You're not singing it the same as us, and it's like, well, no, they have to do their cover version, and maybe they strip it down to an acoustic version or whatever. They have to. We can't just try.
And were there things you were nervous about, or was it just like let it go? Meaning, were you like,
My feeling the whole time was the more they went their own road, the better it became to me. The more that they tried to sort of echo ours too closely, for some reason, I always knew they just had to do their thing. And by the second season, they did. They went off to the races, really. They softened Steve Carell. They stopped making him perhaps as abrasive as Ricky's character. They softened him, which was a smart move. And and off it went. It was
not more sentimental, or just more not sentimental. Makes it sound like bad.
I just think maybe they just rounded some of the sharp edges. But again, that's just a big distinction between British and American comedy, and it always has been. I mean, again, when you look back at kind of British hit comedies in the UK, the characters are often very unpleasant.
Yeah.
Basil Fawlty played by John Cleese, or Alan Partridge, Steve Coogan's character there, or the worlds are very bleak.
Yeah.
There was a show called Steptoe and Son. It was remade as Sanford and Son here, but it's a man stuck living with his father, and they hate each other. I mean, it was if you took out the audience laughter, it would be like a weird, dark, one-act play. So I think that we've just, for some reason in the UK, been very accepting of that bleakness at the kind of base of our comedy.
What's the thing I've been struck by recently is it's similar to the Fame thing in England. England America's perception of England is just like poshness.
Yeah.
It's like Wimbledon,
Yes.
the Queen, the Beatles.
Yeah.
There's like 70%
Yeah.
of what
Harry
we
Potter.
know of it. Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And then
James Bond.
Austin,
Yeah.
James Bond, Austin Powers.
Yeah.
That's 99% of what Americans know. And watching more documentaries about World War II and Adam Curtis documentary. It's like England's not doing that good. England's pretty jacked up. England's extremely working class.
Yeah.
At best.
The majority is working class.
Yeah, like way more. In fact, yesterday I looked up the amount of millionaires there are in England versus the amount of millionaires there are in
How many of us are there?
Us. 2.5 million.
Is there really?
Millionaires.
Yeah.
Out of 60 million people, correct?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
population.
yeah.
America's got 25 million millionaires.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Because others are billionaires.
Well, that's not. It doesn't even count billionaires.
Right. Right.
I think we have probably 100 billion. Anyhow, that's it's a little statistical, but yeah, it's funny. Like England's is a backwater. It doesn't like we think of England as like Mayfair.
That's right.
That's
right.
one
that's
neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, and London. If you visit, you
Yes.
go to London, and
Yes.
you go and see
Parts of London.
Stonehenge. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
mostly it's just like
Suburban
Yeah.
towns and working class towns. And
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So this is just a warning to people. Hey, did you like that? Did you like that? Yeah, did you like it though? You want more? Don't want to work? Would rather watch videos of me grab-assing with people? First of all, go up here to subscribe, and then go up here to watch more clips. This is like when the weatherman says there's a high pressure system coming in. I'm not really used to the green screen.